I was thinking, public lavatories are one of those things that I used to dread as a kid alongside baked beans and vomiting, but then something just clicked and all those things stopped mattering to me at all, and behold, I was a man. Although the thought of cold baked beans slipping down my throat, their texture intact but each being connected in viscous collective conscious enabling jelly, not sauce but jelly, like the stuff that's hermetically sealed around the monkey meat in dog food, quivering like a dead pig on a Pilates machine, still makes me want to vomit, but I digress. Public toilets have been a godsend to me, and not just me, but many an incontinent old woman, and the thought of 1,000 hairy bottoms plonking on plastic seats doesn't put me off at all, although I think I might change the ones in my house now. And yes, the ones, not the one, as I have 2 toilets. First, it was the accepting of baked beans as the delicious invaders of full English breakfasts that so many others have been brainwashed into thinking they are, and now this life of decadence that I lead. When I used to have to travel the full length of England, I'm English don't you know, on Fridays, I would always buy the cheapest train ticket I could get. That's right, you don't live a life of 2 toilets by paying full, you chumper. The problem was that mine was the last train that left the station, which was 3 hours after my shift ended, meaning a long wait in and around the station. And there's only so many espressos you can drink in the only coffee shop before the whole deal starts to become uneconomical, and the coming journey looks more and more itchy. Like a man who just realised the little wooden donkey he bought on holiday is actually solid cocaine painted grey, and the captain of the plane he's on is currently apologising over the tannoy for the delay in the disembarkment procedure, but the crew has been ordered to wait for the dog unit as someone has a cocaine donkey on the plane. When I used to make those train journeys, I'd sit listening to the cacophonic bollocks of city workers talking about their friends with each other, like there was a seat up for grabs at the Politburo, reading the same paragraph of the Count of Monte Cristo over and over and over again because I was so tired and distracted, occasionally stopping to consider taking up smoking as a convenient suits-anywhere pastime. Down in the public bathrooms, always noisy but completely private, I could close my eyes and rest or just read in absolute solitude, sometimes using the toilet, sometimes just sitting in the cubicle pretending to use the toilet, occasionally interrupted by next-door neighbours' grotesquely vivid dry heaves, stomach crunches, and explosive motions, as if they were pebble dashing a small building by blowing concrete and pebbles at high speed through a normal-sized garden hose. But apart from that and the tepid knocking of some attendant or other asking if I was alright, the whole experience was serene. Heathrow Airport has a prayer room where 80% of the people are not so much flouting the no sleeping rule as they are actively working against it, unrolling sleeping bags and setting alarm clocks. To such an extent I'm not sure why they just don't have a sleeping room. Of course it's all ruined by that occasional man who bellows his own call to prayer, which I apologise for, but it's funny, and makes me ask the rhetorical question, aren't airports brilliant? Apart from that one time at JFK Airport of course, where I was singled out because of my beard and my suspicious wooden donkey that certainly wasn't anything it shouldn't have been painted grey. You know, I can't even look at a donkey now without thinking about the simian screams of the brutalised in the most vicious penal system in the world, but thankfully all of those screams entered my head from National Geographic as I was handed the most innocent verdict of them all, unconvictable by technicality. Wait, no, I was talking about airports, most of which I've been to are admittedly little ones, where installing a new vending machine is a poor decision and they don't even have enough seats for a single plane's worth of people. I've heard the moans of red-skinned Manx who have 4 to 5 hours to wait for their connecting flight, yet I've often had to wait for 12 hours and you don't hear me complaining, well except for here, shut up. Well, when waiting for the same man hours it used to take for the government to floss the dead children out of Tony Blair's teeth before he switched to having them pulverised and drinking them through a straw, the bathroom is a godsend, especially when exhausted. You can't sleep when you're sat on the toilet, there's just nowhere to put your head, believe me, I've tried. And although once I made a nice lovely dreamy soft silk kiss pillow out of one of those jumbo-sized Motel Bible Pages toilet rolls that didn't have its plastic cover anymore, it's almost impossible to nod off and find you've missed your flight. Also, you can be in any state of undress and forage through your luggage desperately searching for your passport without creating a hysterical scene. The best thing about airport toilets is that there are always too many of them. If you find the right one, well hey, you've just got your own porcelain palace for the next hour and 15 minutes until the gates open. Which of your sinks will you use now, White Baron? Just a thought. Well, I should go now as I need to dissolve this cocaine donkey before I get my balls cut off with a chainsaw. And you know, I was thinking about chainsaws.